Sawadika, hello and welcome to ASEAN Challenge, the show to give you the latest headlines, hot topics, and updates happening around your ASEAN community in Thai and English. I'm Rosalyn Tepawan.
And I'm Alisa สิทธิวงศ์ขอต้อนรับคุณผู้ชมทุกท่านเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะข่าวสารรอบอาเซียนทั้งเป็นภาษาอังกฤษและภาษาไทยค่ะ
And to kickstart the show, let's go into ASEAN around us and take a look at some important landmarks around our ASEAN community. One in particular we're focusing on this week is in Cambodia, or more particularly the Killing Fields.
That's right. So the Killing Fields in Cambodia not only is a tourist destination in which you can go and visit, but it also has a very important history as well. Now, as for the location of the Cambodian Killing Fields, it's located around 15 kilometers or 9 miles away from the capital city of Phnom Penh. So for those of you who are interested to visiting this location, it's not too far away. Now, the history behind the Killing Fields, of course, it's very important. If we know a little bit about the background in terms of the politics in Cambodia. Now, this location here during the ultra-Maoist revolution of 1975 to 1979, there were, let's say, approximately a total of 1.7 million and 2.2 million people were said to have died during that time around this killing field.
Right, more particularly people with, say, ties to the former government, with foreign governments as well. These include professionals and intellectuals who were victims of the killing by the Khmer Rouge at the time, including ethnic Vietnamese, ethnic Thai, Chinese, ethnic Cham, even Cambodian Christians and Buddhists. So every year, all throughout the year, there are activities like these, ceremonies held at the memorial site to sustain awareness about the history of the country, to actually prevent any repetition of this tragedy from happening again.
That's right. So what we are seeing at the moment now is one of the events that goes on every year, of course. This occurred on May 18th, in which hundreds of people gathered at the Cambodia's killing fields in order to remember those who died under the Khmer Rouge. Now, we can see here that there are a lot of skeletons lined up, and those are to remember the people who died there. As mentioned, that an estimate of about 1.7 million people were killed due to either fatigue, starvation, labor, torture, and as well as diseases as well. Actually, the figure goes up to maybe approximately 2.2 million even.
Right. A UN investigation actually reported higher too. At 3 million dead, UNICEF estimated about 3 million as well. So the numbers vary according to organization. But this period, you could say almost every family member had lost, or every family had lost a family member because of this so-called genocide.
That's right. But this year it marks a more special remembrance in terms of politics as well, because of course, like we probably know that the elections, local elections just occurred as well. The official results will be coming out in the end of June, around the 25th, and that could, it mark some changes in politics in Cambodia as a whole.
Right, indeed, with the opposition gaining ground against the ruling power of the Cambodian government at the moment. And that aside, perhaps we'll still continue to see these reenactments, as you saw earlier, and ceremonies ongoing despite any changes in the government.
ใช่แล้วค่ะมาดูกันในส่วนแรกค่ะ ASEAN Around Us พากันไปที่ประเทศกัมพูชาค่ะสถานที่ที่เราจะพาไปค่ะก็ถือว่าเป็นสถานที่ที่สำคัญทางประวัติศาสตร์นอกเหนือจากนั้นก็ถือว่าเป็นสถานที่ท่องเที่ยวที่สามารถไปเยี่ยมชมกันได้ค่ะสถานที่แห่งนี้นะคะก็คือทุ่งสังหารทางประวัติศาสตร์ของชาวกัมพูชานั่นเองค่ะซึ่งก็มีอีเวนท์ที่เกิดขึ้นในทุกๆปีนะคะอย่างเมื่อเดือนที่แล้วนั่นเองเมื่อวันที่18เดือนพฤษภาคมที่ผ่านมาเนี่ยค่ะเขาก็มีการรำลึกถึงผู้ที่ได้เสียชีวิตในเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นเมื่อประมาณ1970นั่นเองค่ะก็ถือว่ามีคนเสียชีวิตนับล้านเลยทีเดียว
ใช่ค่ะบางคนก็บอกว่าบางกลุ่มก็บอกว่า3ล้านคนนะคะก็นับว่าทุกครอบครัวได้สูญเสียคนรักสมาชิกครอบครัวคนหนึ่งในเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นเมื่อ40ปีก่อนนั่นเองแต่ว่าที่เราเห็นในภาพเมื่อกี้นี้นะคะก็จะเป็นภาพที่มีการแสดงว่าเหตุการณ์เมื่อสมัย40ปีมันเกิดอะไรขึ้นบ้างแล้วก็นอกเหนือจากนั้นก็จะมีการทำบุญมีพิธีเพื่อที่จะรำลึกถึงคนที่เสียชีวิตไป
ถูกต้องค่ะสำหรับใครที่สนใจที่จะไปเยี่ยมชมสถานที่แห่งนี้นะคะก็สามารถที่จะไปได้ค่ะทุ่งสังหารเจืองเอกค่ะจะอยู่ห่างจากเมืองหลวงประมาณ15กิโลเมตรเท่านั้นก็สามารถไปเยี่ยมชมได้นะคะเพื่อไปเรียนรู้เกี่ยวกับประวัติศาสตร์อย่างที่เราทราบกันด้วยว่าณตอนนี้การเมืองของเขาก็อาจจะมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงด้วยเพราะเขาก็มีการเลือกตั้งของเขาที่เพิ่ง พิ่งเกิดขึ้นแล้วก็จะมีการเลือกตั้งใหญ่ที่กำลังจะเกิดขึ้นในอีกไม่กี่ปีด้วย
ใช่ค่ะจริงๆแล้วก็มีการเปลี่ยนแปลงเรื่อยๆนะคะในประเทศเขมรเราก็จะอัปเดตกันเรื่อยๆว่าจะมีเหตุการณ์อะไรบ้างในประเทศนะคะเปลี่ยนแปลงบ้าง so some food for thought anyone who has not gone to visit the killing fields do go visit
That's right with that said we're going to take a short break and we'll be back soon
Welcome back to the program. Into ASEAN hot issues, lots of events marking headlines over the past week in ASEAN. And with that, we start off, though, with what's going on in Manila in developments of a recent shooting that happened last Friday in the capital, Manila, of the Philippines.
That's right. So for those of you following up on the news updates of Manila, what happened on Friday, June the 2nd, there was a robbery in which they've claimed or they called out that it wasn't due to terrorism, of course, but it was a gunman identified later as Jesse Carlos, age 42. He was a former government official, and what happened was basically he was in a lot of gambling debt and therefore, of course, went into a casino and ended up shooting, and which killed at least 38 people, wounding over 60 others.
Right, indeed. Investigations continue as to how that could have happened despite the boosted efforts in security. But altogether, this is another case of more lone attacks and isolated incidents that have been happening around ASEAN and around the globe, such as what we saw recently in the UK, in London, and many other places as well. So for this case to happen, the government is still continuing to boost efforts to investigate the incident, and they came out with the conclusion that it is not terrorism. They ruled it out, but still, a lot of the casualties had come from China. Chinese nationals, 5 of them were among the dead.
That's
in
right.
This attack.
That's right. So if we take a look now at the moment, there is a big concern in terms of is Manila still safe to go to, or is Manila safe? Now authorities and in which the city has said that Manila, of course, is still safe, and the city and the government, even private companies, are learning lessons, we can say that, or drawing lessons from the tragedy and taking measures in order to intensify security in the city. So therefore, they mentioned that, of course, it's not due to terrorism, it's an individual isolated case, and so Manila, Philippines is still considered safe.
Right, but at the same time, what we're seeing is a lot more attacks not involving weapons as well, like what we saw in London, but this one involved a shootout as well, an exchange. So a lot more, what we're seeing is terrorist activity without guns and violence without terrorist activities as well. So more to boost efforts, more reason to boost security all around ASEAN and beyond.
ใช่แล้วค่ะมาดูกันในส่วนข่าวแรกในอาเซียนฮอตอิชชูค่ะไปกันที่ประเทศฟิลิปปินส์เมืองมะนิลานั่นเองอย่างที่หลายคนที่ติดตามข่าวกันนะคะก็คงจะทราบดีว่าเมื่อวันที่2มิถุนายนที่ผ่านมาค่ะก็เกิดเหตุที่คาสิโนที่มะนิลานั่นเองค่ะก็เหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นนะคะทางรัฐบาลนะคะก็ตำรวจนะคะก็บอกว่าไม่ได้เกี่ยวข้องกับการก่อเหตุterrorism นะคะก็เป็นเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นโดยผู้ก่อเหตุค่ะคือนายเจสซี่คาร์ลอสวัย42ปีค่ะซึ่งทางคุณเจสซี่เนี่ยนะคะก็ถือว่าเป็นอดีตเจ้าหน้าที่กระทรวงการคลังของฟิลิปปินส์นั่นเองแล้วถือว่าเป็นหนี้การพนันเยอะแล้วก็ก่อเหตุที่เกิดขึ้นนั่นเอง
ใช่ค่ะแล้วหลังที่ก่อเหตุนะคะฆ่าคนตาย38คนแล้วก็ทำให้คนบาดเจ็บอีก60คนนะคะก็ได้ขึ้นไปข้างบนชั้น2หรือว่าชั้น5ของคาสิโนนะคะแล้วก็ฆ่าตัวตายหลังจากเหตุการณ์เกิดขึ้นซึ่งทางเจ้าหน้าที่นะคะก็จะพยายามเพิ่มความปลอดภัยในประเทศฟิลิปปินส์โดยเฉพาะในกรุงมะนิลานั่นเองเพราะเหตุการณ์ก็เกิดขึ้นบ่อย
ถูกต้องค่ะจริงๆแล้วพักหลังเนี่ยค่ะเหตุการณ์ต่างๆทั่วโลกก็กำลังเกิดขึ้นอย่างร้ายแรงพอสมควรนะคะก็ต้องติดตามดูว่ามีเหตุการณ์อะไรที่เกิดขึ้นบ้างทั่วโลกเลยทีเดียว
ใช่ค่ะแล้วก็ต้องระมัดระวังความปลอดภัยของทุกท่านด้วยค่ะ
Alright, moving on to other countries now. The Marawi crisis in which has driven more than 180,000 people homeless. So that's another incident going on as well in the Philippines.
Right, so far so many people have been displaced as a result of the recent shootings. Once again, some bad news on a similar note. About 185,000 people have been forced to leave their hometowns around you could say, the Marawi area, which is in Mindanao Island, a very a hotbed, you could say, of terrorist activity in southern Philippines. So far, 38 police have been killed in action. These are the updated numbers, with around several people having died in the incident so far.
That's right. So some other incidents which has occurred as well. Just a few weeks ago, the Philippine Armed Forces has set up a bomb by accident to its own troops during an airstrike to the terrorists, killing 10 soldiers as well. So not only are civilians being homeless, and of course civilians are actually, being displaced, but also there are soldiers who are losing their lives in this incident as well.
Right, so every division, every side, every opposing force has lost some members as a result of this conflict. So as a result, the good news is there's been a temporary ceasefire, very short 4-hour unilateral ceasefire to find a way to resolve the problem and the crisis. But so far, the ceasefire is quite fragile and the situation still continues to spiral into problems. There are still around 40 terrorists holding up in Marawi city. So still a lot of possibilities, potential violence that could still happen as well.
That's right. So in terms of President Duterte, he had imposed the martial law on the island of Mindanao, where the Marawi belongs to, on May 23rd, following the attack on Moat group militants, in which the Philippine leader has said they were trying to establish for international terrorist groups, or IS, or like a caliphate for them. The violence on the southern island left almost 100 people dead on the very day of May 23rd, when the martial law was imposed. And the military has earlier said that some of the dead militants are foreigners from neighboring countries as well.
Wow, so we'll definitely keep you posted on developments coming from the Philippines as the situation continues without a definite solution and resolution.
ใช่แล้วค่ะมาดูกันในส่วนข่าวที่2นะคะก็ยังคงอยู่ที่ประเทศฟิลิปปินส์กันค่ะซึ่งทางเจ้าหน้าที่ฟิลิปปินส์ก็ได้เผยว่ากลุ่มติดอาวุธในเมืองมาราวีค่ะบนเกาะมินดาเนาทางตอนใต้ของประเทศนะคะก็ได้เตรียมทั้งอาวุธแล้วก็เสบียงอาหารไว้ในมัสยิดในอุโมงค์แล้วก็ในชั้นใต้ดินนะคะเพื่อที่จะปักหลักต่อสู้ยืดเยื้อค่ะขออภัยค่ะกับทางกองทัพนะคะซึ่งเหตุการณ์นี้นะคะก็ทำให้ประชาชนก็ต้องพลัดถิ่นไร้บ้านกันกว่า 180,000 คนเลยทีเดียว
ใช่ค่ะทั้งหมดก็ครัวเรือนเกิน 37,000 ครัวเรือนนะคะก็นับว่าคนประสบปัญหากันมากรุนแรงมากนะคะในเกาะมินดาเนาที่ประเทศฟิลิปปินส์ซึ่งเราก็จะคอยอัปเดตต่อเนื่องนะคะว่ามีเรื่องอะไรเกิดขึ้นแล้วก็มีการพัฒนายังไงบ้างในประเทศฟิลิปปินส์ค่ะ
Alright, moving on to Cambodia now. Now, as mentioned in the previous section on ASEAN Around Us, we did mention about the election going on in Cambodia. So, of course, there was a local election in which was officially closed on 3 p.m. Sunday of June 4th, in which people were counting ballots. Of course, the official count will be announced on June 25th, but at the moment, there's also been a lot of, let's say, publicity by both sides saying that they won.
Right, it's a big vote despite it not being the general election. A local election, but turnout was quite high at more than 85% of the elective, you could say, the people who can elect. But altogether, the turnout rate was very high, and the climb for the opposition party was growing by several percentage points. It received 46% of the vote. This is coming from Cambodia's National Rescue Opposition Party. They won in 500 communes out of the country's 1,646.
Yeah, that's
definitely
right.
a leap forward.
That's right. But now taking a look at the government side, current government on Hun Sen's side, which of course is a former Khmer Rouge soldier as well. He warned, however, though, that there would be possible violence if his Cambodian People's Party, or CPP, does not keep control of the Southeast Asian country, which was devastated by genocide in the 1970s, as mentioned in ASEAN Around Us, where we saw the killing fields, and that's what occurred in 1970s. And however, Hun Sen has said that, of course, there could be possibility of civil war if his side doesn't win.
Right, so definitely you could say in a way a threat, but at the same time the opposition is still gaining ground. So Hun Sen will have to see what kind of action his ruling party takes in spite of the climb from the opposition party. But so far, the vote is going to take place next year, and so far, various parties are still on the campaigning field trying to gain traction before the upcoming elections. But so far, Hun Sen himself has been accused many times of using violence against his opponents, but in recent years, he's struck the courts instead.
That's right. So, but on giving him credit, Cambodia's ruling party could take some credit for bringing modest economic growth to the country and stability to a country which was devastated by the communist Khmer Rouge regime in the 1970s. So Hun Sen, of course, left the Khmer Rouge, which was responsible for the deaths of some 1.7 million people from starvation, diseases, and executions before it was toppled in 1979. So therefore, we have to give him credit for that. But however, in the past weeks, of course, for his several, we can say, threats of violence going on, Amnesty International accused Cambodia's government of using its grip on the judiciary system to intimidate human rights defenders and political activists. So it said in a report that since the 2013 general election, Hun Sen's government has used the courts as a tool to imprison at least 27 prominent opposition officials.
Right, so still at this time, in our modern day, Cambodia is still developing its arm where people can come and voice out their political opinions openly, which is what the U.S. and the State Department of the U.S. is urging the government to do. Guarantee this kind of political platform that's free from threats or intimidation for all of its citizens. So we'll definitely keep you posted on developments coming from Cambodia as people continue to campaign hard in the lead up to the elections.
ใช่แล้วค่ะมาดูกันในส่วนข่าวที่3มากันที่ประเทศกัมพูชากันบ้างค่ะซึ่งทางพรรครัฐบาลและพรรคฝ่ายค้านนะคะของกัมพูชาก็ต่างออกมาประกาศชัยชนะในการเลือกตั้งท้องถิ่นเมื่อวันที่4มิถุนายนที่ผ่านมาค่ะโดยผลคะแนนเบื้องต้นยังไม่เป็นทางการก็แม้พรรคประชาชนกัมพูชาหรือว่า CPP ของสมเด็จฮุนเซนนะคะก็จะได้คะแนนเสียงที่ถือว่าสูงนะคะแต่ว่าคะแนนของฝ่ายค้านก็ถือว่าสูงเช่นเดียวกันสำหรับคะแนนอย่างเป็นทางการนะคะก็จะเปิดเผยในวันที่25มิถุนายนที่ก็กำลังจะถึงอีกประมาณ2สัปดาห์เองค่ะ
ใช่ค่ะแล้วก็จะจับตามองนะคะดูซิว่าคนเขมรนะคะจะออกมารณรงค์กันแล้วก็เลือกตั้งกันยังไงบ้างในประเทศเขมรจะมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงยังไงบ้างเดี๋ยวเราก็จะคอยติดตามค่ะ But meanwhile let's turn over and look at some other news here coming from Indonesia. We head from Cambodia over to Indonesia for some updates here. We have an official comment coming from Indonesia's defense minister in regard to the recent attacks in London. The minister here, defense minister, had come out Sunday to say that he condoles for those involved in the attack on the London Bridge area.
That's right. So as mentioned that recently several incidents have been going on around the world, so not just in the ASEAN region itself, but in Europe as well. Just in the UK itself, there was the Manchester incident, and just less than 2 weeks after that, the London incident around London Bridge and Borough Market, in which what happened was that there was an attacker in which drove a van at high speed into pedestrians on the London Bridge before stabbing people in the nearby Borough Market areas of bars and restaurants. So this incident was on June 4th. Now, as you mentioned that the Indonesian defense minister had felt sorry for the incident, expressed his condolences. He was speaking at a security forum in Singapore.
Right, indeed. In Indonesia, they're quite alert to terrorist activity and violent incidents, including isolated violent incidents like these, which have been quite prominent in Indonesia as well. So that's no surprise that the minister would feel condolence very keenly for the UK, which has witnessed around 3 attacks within 2 months so far. So Indonesia itself being a predominantly Muslim majority nation, they had been hit badly by terrorist attacks in May and January last year alone. And so they themselves are also increasingly worried about problems of surging radicalism driven by, in part, by a new generation of militants that are gaining traction around the world.
ใช่แล้วค่ะมาดูกันที่ประเทศอินโดนีเซียกันบ้างค่ะซึ่งทางรัฐมนตรีความมั่นคงของอินโดนีเซียนะคะก็ได้แสดงความเสียใจต่อเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นที่ลอนดอนค่ะก็เป็นเหตุก่อการร้ายในกรุงลอนดอนที่ผ่านมาวันที่4มิถุนายนนะคะในงานประชุมที่ประเทศสิงคโปร์โดยอินโดนีเซียก็เป็นประเทศที่มีประชาชนหรือประชากรที่เป็นมุสลิมที่สูงที่สุดในโลกและเคยประสบเหตุการณ์ที่เป็นเหตุการณ์ก่อการร้ายมาแล้วถึง2 ครั้งในปีที่ผ่านมาก็ได้แสดงถึงความเสียใจในเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นนั่นเองค่ะ
ใช่ค่ะก็ทั่วโลกนะคะหลายคนหลายประเทศแล้วก็บุคคลสำคัญก็ออกมาแสดงความเสียใจนะคะ In Singapore, for example, Prince Harry has also come out to express a minute of silence for the victims of the London attack recently during a polo match that was held in Singapore.
That's right. So Prince Harry, as we know, of the UK, expressed his condolences to the incidents of course, his people, because it happened in London. But however, he was at a polo match in order to raise money for his charity and supports vulnerable children and young people affected by HIV and AIDS in the Botswana and Lesotho of South Africa. So his team won the games at 5-2 against the St. Regis team, and of course, all the money that comes from this tournament, of course, goes to good causes.
Right, indeed. The trophy itself being awarded by the Scottish actress of Doctor Who, Karen Gillan, as well. So definitely some light in the tragic news that we saw recently.
ใช่แล้วค่ะยังต่อเนื่องกับเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นที่ประเทศอังกฤษที่ลอนดอนนะคะแต่ว่าทางเจ้าชายแฮร์รี่แห่งราชวงศ์อังกฤษค่ะก็ได้ร่วมไว้อาลัยกับเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นนะคะเหตุก่อการร้ายที่อังกฤษระหว่างการเสด็จไปเยือนประเทศสิงคโปร์เช่นเดียวกันค่ะโดยทรงพบกับเจ้าหน้าที่และอาสาสมัครมูลนิธิสิงคโปร์เอดและองค์กรการกุศลต่างๆด้วยค่ะ
ใช่ค่ะสำหรับคนต่างชาตินะคะก็จะได้มีการแสดงความเสียใจนะคะด้วยการเงียบสงบประมาณนาที2นาทีนะคะ So that wraps up ASEAN hot issues on this segment. We take a short break now. Coming back, we have ASEAN calendar, so stay tuned.
พักกันสักครู่ค่ะ
Welcome back to ASEAN Challenge. Into ASEAN calendar now. A whole lot of colorful events coming up.
ใช่แล้วค่ะกลับเข้าสู่รายการ ASEAN Challenge ค่ะและ ASEAN Calendar ในสัปดาห์นี้ก็มีอีเวนต์มากมายเลยทีเดียวค่ะ
Let's check it out.
World Environment Day. Every 5th of June is World Environment Day. On this day, communities and individuals around the world work to increase awareness of the importance of conserving the environment, the positive global impact of environmental regulations and controls, and engage in activities that serve to educate and improve their environment locally. It grew out of the efforts of leading environmentalists who recognized the need for there to be a coordinated global focus to begin to make conserving the environment and our natural resources a priority. Similar to World Environment Day is Earth Day, that is celebrated every year on the 22nd of April, and Earth Hour, that is celebrated every year on the last Saturday of the month of March from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. While Earth Day is an event that is celebrated every year on the 22nd of April to gather support for protection of the environment. Earth Hour is another event organized by the WWF that encourages millions of people around the world to switch off their lights for 1 hour in order to show their commitment towards planet Earth. World Oceans Day. History. On June 8th each year, we celebrate the ocean, its importance in our lives, and how we can protect it. World Oceans Day helps raise the profile of the ocean and inspire more involvement in helping to conserve its amazing resource we all depend on. We have to ensure that oceans continue to meet our needs without compromising those of future generations. They regulate the planet's climate and are a significant source of nutrition. Their surface provides essential passage for global trade, while their depths hold current and future solutions to humanity's energy needs. This was said by the former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Why World Oceans Day? The Ocean Project recognizes that there is one global ocean that connects us all. Within our one ocean, there are 5 distinct oceans: the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic Ocean, and Southern Ocean. Until 2009, we promoted World Ocean Day but added the S after the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution in late 2008, officially recognizing June 8th as World Oceans Day. Perhaps one day the UN will embrace the singular ocean, but in the meantime, we are following the UN's designated use of the World Oceans Day to show solidarity for the conservation of this important resource that connects us all.
Ramadan. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. It's observed by Muslims worldwide as a month of fasting to commemorate the first revelation of the Quran to Muhammad, according to Islamic belief. This annual observance is regarded as one of the 5 pillars of Islam. The month lasts 29 to 30 days based on the visual sightings of the crescent moon. This is according to numerous biographical accounts compiled in the hadiths. The word Ramadan comes from the Arabic roots, meaning scorching heat or dryness. Fasting is obligatory for adult Muslims, except for those suffering from an illness, who are traveling, are elderly, pregnant, breastfeeding, are diabetic, chronically ill, or menstruating. Fasting the month of Ramadan was made obligatory during the month of Shaban, in the second year after the Muslims migrated from Mecca to Medina. Fatwas have been issued declaring that Muslims who live in the regions with a natural phenomenon, such as the midnight sun or polar night, should follow the timetable of Mecca. But the more commonly accepted opinion is that Muslims in those areas should follow the timetable of the closest country to them, in which night can be distinguished from day. While fasting from dawn until sunset, Muslims refrain from consuming food, drinking liquids, smoking, and engaging in sex. Muslims are also instructed to refrain from sinful behavior that may negate the rewarding of fasting, such as false speech, like insulting, backbiting, cursing, and lying, and fighting, except in self-defense. Food and drinks are served daily before dawn and after sunset, referred to as suhoor and iftar respectively. Spiritual rewards for fasting are believed to be multiplied within the month of Ramadan. Fasting for Muslims during Ramadan typically includes the increasing offering of prayers, recitation of the Quran, and an increase of good deeds and charity. Independence Day in the Philippines. Independence Day is an annual national holiday in the Philippines observed on June 12th, commemorating the Philippine Declaration of Independence from Spain on June 12, 1898. Since 1962, it's been the country's national day. Prior to 1964, June 12th had been observed as Flag Day in the country. In 1965, President Diosdado Macapagal issued Proclamation Number 374, which moved the National Flag Day to May 28th. In 1994, President Fidel Ramos issued the Executive Order Number 179, extending the celebration period from May 28th to the Philippine Independence Day on June 12th, ordering the government departments, agencies, offices, and government-owned and controlled corporations, including state agencies, local government unions, even private establishments, to prominently display the national flag in all public buildings, all government institutions, and official residences during this time. They've also ordered the Department of Education, in coordination with the private sector and non-government organizations and other groups like socio-civic groups, to join the prominent display of the national flag in all public squares, and whenever practicable, in all private buildings as well as homes. The day is spent with family bonding and friends and relatives, and in either outdoor and indoor activities. All government offices and schools are closed, as are private enterprises, save for commercial establishments. As required by law, the flag of the Philippines, first flown on that day in 1898, is displayed in homes and establishments from as early as May 28th, on Flag Day, or on a selected date in May, by the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. serving as the organizer of celebrations, to the 30th of the month. Fireworks displays are the norm. Yearly commemorative acts with a flag raising at the Aguinaldo Shrine and reading of the Philippine Declaration of Independence are also normal actions. Worldwide, Filipinos will gather on June 12th or a date close to it to publicly celebrate, sometimes with a Philippine Independence Day parade. More on National Independence Day ceremonies and parade. A ceremony in Manila serves as the official festivities as well as the simultaneous raising of the national flag in various historical places nationwide. Also part of this is the Vin d'Honneur held on the Malacañang Palace in honor of the holiday by the President and the State Diplomatic Corps. 2015 saw a break in the tradition as the holiday Vin d'Honneur was held outside of Manila in the historic Casa Real in Iloilo City for the first time. The festivities begin in Manila's Rizal Park or in selected historical landmarks of the nation, as is the trend since 2011, in which the President of the Philippines, the Vice President of the Philippines, members of the State Cabinet and Congress, including members of the government organizations and state employees, and representatives of the uniformed services, along with the youth uniformed organizations and business entities, veterans, people from the nation's different religions and ethnic minorities, and much, much more joining in on the simultaneous raising of the national flag at 7 in the morning, preceded by holiday honors to the President, followed by wreath-laying ceremonies and the presidential holiday address. International Albinism Awareness Day. People with albinism face multiple forms of discrimination worldwide. Albinism is still profoundly misunderstood socially and medically. The physical appearance of people with albinism is often the object of erroneous beliefs and myths influenced by superstition that foster their marginalization and social exclusion. This leads to various forms of stigma and discrimination. In some communities, erroneous beliefs and myths, heavily influenced by superstition, put the security and lives of people with albinism at constant risk. These beliefs and myths are centuries old and are present in cultural attitudes and practices around the world. On the December 18, 2014, the General Assembly adopted a resolution proclaiming, with effect from 2015, on the 13th of June, as International Albinism Awareness Day. The United Nations Human Rights Council adopted a resolution in 2013 calling for the prevention of attacks and discrimination against albinos. Moreover, in response to the call from civil society organizations advocating the consideration of people with albinism as a specific group with particular needs requiring special attention, on March 26, 2015, the Council created the mandate of independent expert on the enjoyment of human rights by albinos. In January 2016, a United Nations independent expert on the enjoyment of human rights of people with albinism has submitted her report on albinism to the UNHRC.
World Blood Donor Day, 14th of June 2017. Every year on the 14th of June, countries around the world celebrate World Blood Donor Day, or WBDD. The event serves to raise awareness of the need for safe blood and blood products and to thank blood donors for their life-saving gifts of blood. Blood is an important resource, both for planned treatments and urgent interventions. It can help patients suffering from life-threatening conditions live longer and with a higher quality of life. This supports complex medical and surgical procedures. Blood is also vital for treating the wounded during emergencies of all kinds, natural disasters, accidents, armed conflicts, and so forth, and has essential life-saving roles in maternal and perinatal care. A blood service that gives patients access to safe blood and blood products in sufficient quantity is a key component to an effective health system. Ensuring safe and sufficient blood supplies requires the development of a nationally coordinated blood transfusion service based on voluntary, non-remunerated blood donations. However, in many countries, blood services face the challenge of making sufficient blood available, while also ensuring its quality and safety. Focus of this year's campaign. The lives and health of millions of people are affected by emergencies every year. In the last decade, disasters have caused more than 1 million deaths, with more than 250 million people being affected by emergencies every year. Natural disasters such as earthquakes, floods, and storms create considerable needs for emergency health care, while at the same time often destroying vital health facilities as well. Man-made disasters such as road accidents and armed conflicts also generate substantial healthcare demands and the need for frontline treatment. Blood transfusion is an essential component of emergency health care. Emergencies increase the demand for blood transfusion and make its delivery challenging and complex. Adequate supply of blood during emergencies require a well-organized blood service, and this can only be ensured by engaging the entire community and a blood donor population committed to voluntary unpaid blood donation throughout the year. This year's campaign will focus on blood donation in emergencies. In crisis or emergency situation, the natural human response is, "What can I do? How can I help?" Therefore, the slogan for the 2017 campaign is, "What can you do?" with the secondary message, "Give blood, give now, give often." The campaign underlines the role every single person can play in helping others in emergency situations by giving the valuable gift of blood. It also focuses on the fact that it is important to give blood regularly, so that the blood stock is sufficient before an emergency arises. The objectives of this year's campaign: to encourage all people to strengthen the emergency preparedness of health services in their community by donating blood, to engage authorities in the establishment of effective national blood donor programs with the capacity to respond promptly to the increase in blood demand during emergencies, to prompt the inclusion of blood transfusion services in national emergency preparedness and response activities, to build wider public awarenesses of the need for committed, year-round blood donation in order to maintain adequate supplies and achieve a national self-sufficiency of blood, to celebrate and thank individuals who donate blood regularly, and to encourage young people to become new donors as well, to promote international collaboration and to ensure worldwide dissemination of and consensus on the principles of voluntary non-remunerated donation while increasing blood safety and availability. The host country for the global event of World Blood Donor Day 2017 is Vietnam. World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. The global population of people aged 60 years and older will more than double from 542 million in 1995 to about 1.2 billion in 2025. Around 4 to 6% of the elderly people have experienced some form of maltreatment at home. Elder maltreatment can lead to serious physical injuries and long-term psychological consequences. The incidence of abuse towards older people is predicted to increase as many countries are experiencing rapidly aging populations. Elder abuse is a global social issue which affects the health and human rights of millions of older persons around the world, and an issue which deserves the attention of the international community. The United Nations General Assembly, in its Resolution 66/127, designated June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. It represents the one day in the year when the whole world voices its opposition to the abuse and suffering inflicted to some of our older generations.
And that was ASEAN calendar for this week and a bit beyond. With that, we take a short break. When we come back, ASEAN interview ahead. Stay tuned.
พักกันสักครู่ค่ะ Welcome back to the program, and on to ASEAN interview. We have some issues in which we're going to discuss about the Dutch Queen, in which talks with Vietnamese officials.
Let's check it out.
Queen Maxima of the Netherlands visited Vietnam on Thursday, June 1st, to hold talks with the country's top officers in Hanoi to discuss ways of helping the country to access the financial lifeline they need. The Dutch Queen was on a 3-day visit in Vietnam in her capacity as the UN Secretary-General's Special Advocate for Inclusive Finance for Development. The Argentinian-born Queen held talks with Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister Vuong Dinh Hu, Minister of Finance Dinh Thien Dung, and Minister of Labor and Social Affairs Dao Ngoc Dung. The aim of the visit was to evaluate Vietnam's potential when given access to inclusive financing. Over 75% of people living in the rural areas of Vietnam do not have access to financial services.
Given the amount of commitment that the government has shown, the momentum that the private sector has shown in this level, also the development that has been going on, we really have seen the 6% growth in GDP that we've been having on yearly terms, and how that has translated into reduction of poverty. And the need right now to start looking at increasing internal demand, increasing SMEs and increasing employment in this sense, I think we're really well poised to go to the next level of financial inclusion strategy development. My first day I had a very good visit in Dalat to farmers that have actually had the opportunity to have what we call value chain financing in terms of bringing together the buyers of their products, the suppliers of the inputs, together with technical capacity and financing together. Extremely good pilot projects that I hope to see scaled in the future in this country to really reach the potential that Vietnam could actually have.
The services would be vital to help Vietnamese to help access to investments into farming and modern production technologies. This is the second time Queen Maxima visited Vietnam. In 2011, the then Princess Maxima paid an official visit to the Southeast Asian nation with her husband, Prince of Orange, Willem Alexander.
And there you have it, ASEAN interview this week. And that wraps up ASEAN Challenge this week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again very soon next week. For now, สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ